Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily AI Show. It is Monday, December 22nd, 2025. I am Beth Lyons, and with me in the studio today is Andy Halliday. Andy and I may be both coming to you with new laptops. Did you set yours
No,
up? Oh, all right.
I'm still working on mine. The migration is very complex in my case, but is being assisted by Claude Code.
To the benefit and to the detriment, perhaps initially in equal measure. I went with a MacBook Air because every team is talking about using it as like their main vibe code, or one of the people who's developing on the every team. So, and I need something to travel with that can use AI because I'm like you, I'm not Scottish, but my previous MacBook was very, very old and didn't have one of the silicon chips.
I now have a longitudinal history right here in this office, starting with a 2013 MacBook Pro, and then I have a 2017 MacBook Pro, a 2017 iMac, and a 2020 iMac that I've gutted and use as a monitor for my new late 2024 MacBook Pro M4 Pro.
Yeah.
And that's going to be my new machine going forward with a 27-inch 5K monitor stolen from an iMac.
Ah, very cool. All right. Well, hello to Greg and Gwen and Gareth and Jeff. So great to see you in the comments. If you also want to pop your name in the comment, go for it. We're totally great. We're totally excited that you're here with us. And if you're listening to us, we do this on YouTube Live and LinkedIn Live every Monday through Friday, but YouTube Live is where we get to interact with the comments because LinkedIn doesn't like that very much. All right, let's get started. Andy, are there specific news stories that you want to talk about today?
Yeah, I have several. First, I wanted to say that, we're rapidly approaching the end of the year. And, it's an opportunity to do some forecasting for what's going to happen in 2026, but also to look backward over what happened in this one year. And on Friday, Andrei Karpathy, one of the very great observers, developers, futurists of AI, wrote a pretty short blog that is the 2025 LLM year in review. So focusing just on LLMs, not on all the other facets of AI, but just LLMs. And I'm not going to, it's short enough that I can almost read it on the show, but I'm not going to. That would be too long. I'm going to just read the headers, like what are the elements of what he thinks was important as progress. Okay, so the first one was at the beginning of the year, we had training of AI models happening through reinforcement learning from human feedback. So we were reinforcing the better answers in order to train the models to do that. We were doing that ourselves. Well, by the end of the year, we have reinforcement learning from verifiable rewards. Mm-hmm. And it's dramatically changed the speed with which models can be trained and the efficiency of doing that, because now there's built-in algorithmic approaches to reinforcement learning. Okay. The second heading of his look back on 2025 is ghosts versus animals. The idea that there's jagged intelligence emerging from LLMs. They haven't become generalized intelligence as humans are, but rather have very specific areas of intelligence. And it's worth seeing his perspective on what that jagged intelligence profile is. The number 3 one, the third in this, just there's only 6 altogether, so we're all the way halfway through on this one, is Cursor, a new layer in LLM apps. So he's noticing that there's another part of the LLM stack being used by users out there, and it's Cursor. And Cursor is an application that you run on your desktop if you're a developer, and you can put any of the LLMs into that model, basically. and it's a model of its own, but it's running locally. And so the question is, I think in his retrospective, is this going to be a permanent member of the emerging AI stack that people are using? And then number 4 is Claude Code.
Mm-hmm.
AI that lives on your computer and can work your computer. And that's why I'm using Claude Code to do this migration and changing some things about the user volumes that are on this, Mac. The Mac that I'm talking to you on right now is 2 terabytes of SSD storage, and I don't even know what's in there. So I'm having Claude Code evaluate all that and figure out, what I can do to make the migration of all this data over to the MacBook M4 Pro happen. So I'm using Claude Code expressly for this idea that it lives on my computer and can do those things. And then Nate Jones, who, if you don't follow him, you should, because this guy is prolific in his conduct of AI and also in his exposition of AI. I mean, this guy, I don't know how he does it. He does have AI assisting him, I know. But anyway, he just published an entire guide to using Claude Code for non-technical users. So you do have to use the terminal, but that's just an application that's built into your computer. If you have a laptop or a desktop, you have terminal. So now you just have to follow the instructions and you open up terminal, and that's where you use Claude Code. Well, Claude Code does a lot of other things. So Andre Karpathy says that's number 4 of 6 things that he thinks are important in the world of AI in 2025, world of LLMs in AI. Okay, the last 2. Number 5, vibe coding. Okay, he coined the term vibe coding. And he provides a link in this blog post, which is at, by the way, karpathy.bearblog.dev. So that's where you can find this, and it's worth a read because it's very short. Anyway, vibe coding, which we've talked about extensively. And then the last one, number 6, is Nano Banana. Okay, and the Gemini Nano Banana is one of the most incredible paradigm shifting models of 2025. And so that's the 6, and I think that's worth a quick review here. And we will sometime in the week after Christmas, we will start doing our collection of highlights of 2025 and also prognostication about 2026.
Absolutely. So that's amazing. He's a developer and researcher, so it's kind of heavily coded on things that change development, but also things that change development for non-developers, right? Yeah. Because now people are building their own tools. I keep thinking and seeing things about Nano Banana too, and I swear, if you told me in 2023 the world would change with something that was pixel and bitmap based, I would tell you were out of your mind, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we've moved so far beyond that, but it's doing brilliant pixel-based images, but they are pixel-based. So when you change them, it's really challenging. And in fact, there was a guide this weekend talking about, if you really want to make modifications, you don't want to edit that within the same thread, right? You want to take it out, you want to mark it up, you want to do whatever you want, and give it the new prompt. Because as it starts to try to edit the things that it built, it gets sort of nuts, right? Some things get ignored, anatomical things start to go wacky. But if you change it so that you have a whole new prompt with a reference, then it gets that, which is actually what we learned in terms of prompting as well.
Yeah.
So I was laughing with Andy. As you know, we are really prolific readers of the AI newsletters that come out on the daily, so that we can help you all understand the stories. And so this is a story, breaking news that you may already know. The rundown has taken the time off. So if you also were looking in your email today trying to figure out what the rundown was talking about, they're talking about they've been doing this for every day for what seems like forever. And so there's no rundown newsletter today.
Just because we mentioned the rundown, I use Miko, which is this app, $3 a month, and it basically is a newsletter reader.
Mm-hmm.
It assembles all the newsletters that you find interesting, and it then puts them in just a little container on your desktop so you can kind of scan through them more quickly. And the ones that I end up jumping, I jump past many of them. I see them in the list. And the ones that I end up opening are not the rundown. I periodically use the rundown, but I definitely will look at AI breakfast.
Nice.
I look at AI secret. And partly because I think those are perhaps a bit more on the technical side than Rundown, for example. But Rundown does this thing called Rundown University, and they have huge resources. So that's a really good one. But the one that really is at the sort of the highest level of aggregation of all of the important pieces is called TLDR AI. I end up going to that one in favor of most of the other ones, and I'm curious about what newsletters our routine chat members look at first and foremost, and we'll compile something about, okay, here's the ranked order list of the rundowns and neurons, etc., that we find useful.
Yeah, absolutely. The chat is, I won't say reading us, but this being surprised that we have not created a newsletter scanner. That's not entirely true. I have created a newsletter scanner. That doesn't change the fact that I'm still going to the inbox like, did anything just break that I want to talk about? So over the weekend, Politico ran a story talking about big tech's growing unease with President Trump's AI czar, David Sachs. And the gist of the story is basically established companies feeling uneasy about David Sachs, who's a venture capitalist and very interested in crypto and all of those things, having an enormous influence on policy that could, in fact, be disruptive in terms of favoring innovators versus established companies. I did go into a little detail because, like, is this just a tech war, right? Is this just that? Big tech is Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, Amazon, and then like trade groups and lobbyists and those kinds of things. And David Sachs is a venture capitalist. Like that's what he does. And I find that is an example of the kinds of tensions that we're seeing as we move forward, right? So big tech is a little bit more like regulate, but maybe don't regulate at, like, everybody wants to be, all tech in this context wants to be successful, and of course more successful than China, which is kind of the subtext of a lot of regulation and the executive order that Trump signed and various things like that. So it's tech insiders versus other tech insiders. It's not outsiders saying that they're concerned about that. That's not to say outsiders haven't said they're concerned. It's just not this particular story. And everybody's pro AI development. The split is about who controls the rules, not whether the rules should exist. Did you see this story, Andy? Do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't see that, and it is an interesting question. David Sachs is a member of the South African VC mafia.
Right.
But by some twist of the fates, we ended up with a bunch of expatriates from South Africa leading the sort of the billionaire class in Silicon Valley that's applying itself to AI in the political context. So I don't know much about him other than this. He's one of the members of that group who's not let's just say that there's a political leaning among them that's on the far right side. And I don't understand that. It didn't seem to be a part of the culture that I experienced when I was working in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. And Greg is saying the All In podcast. Yes. So he's one of the four, right? There are four hosts who are, yes, they have been in existence longer than we have. Thank you, Greg, as well. Okay. Yeah, so that's really interesting. And in terms of why this matters, of course, regulation is almost always something that lags behind new development. And of course, AI is developing faster and faster. Andy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to show this on screen here if I can figure out how to do that quickly. I really wish there was a faster way to get this set up. But I wanted to show you this on the subject of robotics about Disney's animated character Olaf brought to life in a brand new technological advancement in simulation of animated characters in real robotic animatronics. Okay, so Disney's sort of the original animatronics developer. This all started in the guts of the Imagineering labs at Disney, and all the way back to Mary Poppins, where they had an animatronic bird that lands on Mary Poppins' hand and tweets to her. And that was the beginning of this. Well, now, let me go back here and get this set up. Everybody in the audience, pick a topic and discuss. I'll be right back. I want to share my screen. Just a moment. Okay.
Greg is talking about the Hall of Presidents. I'm remembering the Bear Band, but I don't know if the Bear Band is a specific thing. Here we go.
Okay. So you've got that on the screen. I'm just going to play this a little bit. Hopefully the audio is loud enough here that you can hear it. I think it's very interesting what we're seeing.
We bring an animated character to life in the physical world.
Hello.
We present a freely walking Olaf robot that accurately imitates the animated character's walking style and gestures. The robot is true to in-movie scale, and it hides all mechanical and electrical parts behind shells and a costume.
Hi, everyone. I'm Olaf.
The arms, nose, buttons, eyebrows, and hair are magnetically attached, allowing them to sit securely on the costume, yet break away during a fall or incident, and also enabling in-character gags.
So
Olaf's unusual proportions pose several challenges for the mechanical design. The legs and feet are concealed within the lower body snowball and snowballs around its feet to create the illusion of the feet freely moving along the body. We use a novel asymmetric 6 degree of freedom leg design.
So there's a lot of engineering that went into this one,
move within
particular to the idea of animatronics.
The snowballs are made from flexible polyurethane foam, so they keep their shape while allowing enough deflection for large leg movements.
I'm going to jump ahead here. We go through all of the AI that's built into this thing that generates its responses and so on. These animatronic characters are not going to be driven by a human behind the scenes as is done today with somebody on a speaker. They can actually speak. They're AI driven. It's going to be amazing.
Okay. Anyway. Just to clarify, Greg is asking, that's not CGI. That's not a puppet. That's actually an animatronic robot.
That's an animatronic robot. And so the takeaway for this, can you stop that share? Thanks.
I can.
Yeah. So here's just some of the technological achievements that Disney has done by working in robotics for this specific theme park oriented application. But what's going to happen is theme parks are going to go wild in the next few years. they're going to have all these characters wandering around. This is going to be the place that you can actually interact along with your children in a sort of safe and sort of not Terminator-like way with the most advanced robots out there. Okay, so these asymmetric hidden legs, in order to achieve that animatronic walking that's faithful to Olaf, the left leg has the knee moving, knee forward, hip back, and the right leg has the knee back, hip forward. So they had asymmetric knees. They have the remote activators. So all of the mechanical actuators reach out to the parts of the external part of the visible robot through a bunch of gear linkages. And then they did this cool thing called silent stepping. It's an impact reduction reward in the AI that cuts footstep noise by 15 approximately decibels. So they demonstrate that in the video there that you see. Disney Research Hub, by the way, on YouTube is where you can go see Olaf. But anyway, the like a robot clanks along, you see it steps kind of mechanistically. But this one has an AI routine in the walking program that rewards it for stepping softly. And so the Olaf robot learned a different kind of heel-toe step with both of these reversed legs in order to achieve this quiet walking. And then you saw in the demo the magnetic breakaways that actually have sensors. As the magnet is removed, then of course the robot knows that you've taken one of its arms or legs, or no, I guess you can't take the leg off. Anyway, I found this fascinating, and I just Imagineering is really at the cutting edge here.
This is amazing, and specifically, I was having a conversation with a friend the other day about home care robots, because that seems to be one of the edges, right? They're going to be in manufacturing and they're going to be in home care. And the idea that, if you need home care, why would you trust this giant destruction machine? But if we're also looking at Olaf and that kind of technology, like the breakaway, I don't know, like the breakaway grip or the breakaway something, that shifts it a little bit. That is fascinating and delightful as a almost holiday kind of story. There was
it is.
I am seeing more and more information about the Ricci robot, if you remember. Ricci Mini was like $250 or something. $400 if you would like it to be able to be wireless, I think is the price bump. But Ricci was a partnership between a robotics company and Hugging Face. And Ricci has two different size eyes and like kind of cool antenna and the ability to move its head up and down. And I think they must have shipped recently, because I'm starting to see more Ricci out in the world. And I do think that we're going to see a ton of this kind of robot that is very interesting technically, but also very disarming. Like, I think we've moved from the comic dog Boston dynamic kind of with the hat, and we've now moved into like these are clearly soldiers, and also they're very fun and cute over here, right?
Yeah, on robotics this weekend I saw a clip about some I don't know the country of origin, but it was a major concert production where the lead vocalist, the star vocalist, is on the stage surrounded by about, I don't know, say 30 dancers. Okay. About 10 of those dancers were Unitree robots.
Yes.
Okay. And so they are programmed and they're performing in perfect sync with the human dancers. So I'm not sure which order is happening there. Are the human dancers leading the way and the robots are imitating? No, they must have programmed the robots in advance to do the sequence of moves that are associated with the song, but I'm sure they have timing synchronization with the music. Okay, so there's a trigger that's happening there through the audio sensors. And
right.
Yeah, but it was very impressive, because all those dance moves that you see with the large dance crews that are along with the performer, they're very complicated and fast moving. And in amongst all of those, the human dancers didn't do this, but the unitary dancers did a flip. Okay?
Yeah.
All in synchronization with what was going on in the show.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Okay, so this story comes from Gwen, and when the power went out in San Francisco, Waymo cars just nope.
Died.
I'm at an intersection and I don't know what to do, and my instructions say when I don't know what to do, I should do absolutely nothing. So Waymo cars have been pulled in San Francisco while they figure out how.
What happened? Yeah, there should be there should be at least a return to home feature. But what made this worthy of a recall of all the Waymos was that they halted in place in traffic. Yeah, so they showed these pictures of multiple Waymos blocking traffic and just sitting there. They're all lit up, but they're not moving, and they're basically inert as a result of apparently a power outage at some central hub that coordinates by cloud the activity of multiple Waymos, is what I got to believe. But this is worth, like exploring further. How could that happen? How could your fleet not have a graceful failure mode that would return to base?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's also traffic, right? Because I mean, like the 1970s version is like waving out the window and going, come around, right? But you can't do that in city traffic.
Speaking of cars,
okay,
I stumbled upon an AI auto buying agent at a website called Car Edge. And the expert AI car buying agent will contact dealers on your behalf while you stay anonymous. And it does deep research on your vehicle and all the proprietary information that Car Edge has collected about what other people are paying and what other dealers are, agreeing to. And it, of course, researches all the incentives and all the tax advantages and so on if you're buying an EV, and puts this all together with an AI agent that will assist you all the way through the car buying process. So no longer need to feel like the fear of going into a car dealer. You don't have to go. The AI agent is going to do all the negotiation for you. Now, it does cost, right? You have to pay a fee up front, and it approaches $1,000 order of magnitude to buy that agent. But if the testimonies on the Car Edge site say that, wow, I got 6,000 off MSRP. Now, if you haven't already previously developed the skills to negotiate with car dealers to achieve that kind of reduction, then it's probably worth paying $1,000. You're going to be net 5,000 grand ahead.
Right. I mean, that's one of the pieces where that's one of the pieces where there's enough overage that what you're getting is worth it, right? Yeah. That's why you pay to have somebody do your taxes or pay for the service to do your taxes. Like the idea is that you're getting more back than you're spending.
By the way, on that point, taxes, I use a tax firm that I've used for 30 years or whatever. But I do all the prep work, right? It's like the heavy lifting is what I send to them for them to finalize the tax return. And they've made mistakes, but the reason I want to mention it is I'm not dissing tax preparers. If you have complicated tax returns, then it's worth doing that. But this is one of the areas that AI is going to displace most thoroughly. It's financial management of the household and tax preparation and tax optimization. that whole area, I've read repeatedly that this is going to be done by AI. You're not going to have to hire a professional services firm. And there's a lot of other professional services that AI is going to displace, because that's the kind of knowledge work that heretofore has really depended on the longitudinal experience and expertise of those professionals. But now all of that is contained in AI, and you don't need to turn to those humans to do it. Another area in which, there's disruption in the overall supportive economy of human beings on the planet, and how do we get past that? That's a discussion for 2026.
Well, there was another story, I think over the weekend, may have been last week. There was a lawyer who was talking about having, he basically prepared the argument, he prepared the information that he needed, and then he gave it to AI, and AI made it enormously better in seconds, right? This guy had spent a long period of time. And again, sort of coming out about, hey, so I'm very experienced. So what I'm doing is pattern recognition in my own expertise. There is a point, and we may be nearing that now, where AI's pattern recognition is equal to that, right? And of course, able to encompass much larger amounts of attention to identify the pattern than humans are. So I think we're seeing that over and over again. And that pivots me to a Duke University research about a new AI that can find simple and readable rules hidden in extremely complex systems that otherwise look to humans like they're chaotic. And this is, again, that ability to take in a vast amount of data and find the patterns. They basically, AI uncovers simplicity in chaos, turns complicated time series data into simple equations. So there were things like they studied this across different sectors. So climate, biology. There were two others that I'm not able to come up with in my reading right now, but basically really, really large data sets. And again, what is challenging is that is a lot for humans to try to analyze and grok all together. And what they're finding is that there are some simple patterns in that, and then humans are more able to engage with that information. And of course, the other piece of this is the ability to communicate something in a more simplistic fashion that doesn't dumb it down, like it's still accurate, right? And that was really exciting. So it's a scientific discovery accelerator, bridges data and theory, and actually creates like your machine scientist coworker in the same kind of way that I think we're seeing with your dev coworker, right? The ability to take in large amounts of code.
Cool. Ready for another little tangent?
I am.
Okay, I've been holding off on jumping into this one for a while, but I want to hit it today because we're only at 33 minutes and we've got a few minutes more that we can handle, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so this one is about something that I've experienced personally, and I think is an important observation about the emergence of co-intelligence and how humans work with AI and should work with AI. And there's a research paper, and I commend it to you. It's called Quantifying Human AI Synergy. And I will read this quote from that that I think captures the spirit of it overall. So this is about, what happens when you chat with an AI assistant, and how do you move that conversation along to get the optimum responses and to achieve the objective that you have. Okay. Response quality from the AI is not an inherent property of the model alone, but emerges from the interaction between human reasoning and AI capabilities. So this is a shift, that's the quote. This is a shift from optimizing for standalone AI performance, like in a benchmark, right? Where there's a codified input that's going to generate an output. There's a problem set and here's the solution response. That's not what it's about. What it's about is this dialogue, this collaborative synthesis of human observation and direction with an AI's capabilities. So you've got powerful assistants, but the optimum performance comes out of the interaction between the human and the AI, not the quality of the model. So now there's been studies out there that show that when you pair AI with a human worker, right, you get a bump in the performance of even the most skilled of the human workers. So you add AI to them and they go up. But the real jump is from the lower skilled humans who get, with the assistance of AI, an exaggerated response in the movement up the performance curve. Okay, so AI, this research paper says, has both complementary for the higher skilled human and equalizing effects for the lower skilled workers. So that when you pair a human with an AI, you're going to win it either way. And this is a lesson, I think, for everybody who's out there in enterprise and small business, saying, how do I work with AI and get out of the frame of, oh, I need to get an automation where AI takes over the humans, where no, you need to pair humans with AI in the optimum way, depending on their function and depending on their level of skills with that. So you bump up the performance and the productivity of everybody in the system. So now to finalize this part of the discussion, I'm going to just say where they take the research around that. And it says that this study identifies theory of mind, the cognitive capacity to infer and reason about others' mental states, as the key mechanism driving human AI synergy. So this is where I was alluding to my own personal experience, which is I find that I end up having just this sort of intuitive inkling about something that's happening in the dialogue with, whether it's Claude Code or whether it's Gemini 3 or whoever, that, you're kind of going down a path here that I think is going to run into some roadblocks. And now I need to interject. Mm-hmm. That interjection is because I have a skill, theory of mind, that AIs need to learn more effectively in order to optimize the collaboration with humans. But I have a skill, theory of mind, which is I can see what's happening in the progression of the conversation that I can model as another intelligence. Mm-hmm. And you know, the sycophantic AI out there does like a small artifact of that by saying, oh, you're absolutely right when you say something, right? Mm-hmm. So it's, you know, the response is saying, oh, I get what you're saying. And I really appreciate you've thought about something very strategically and, you know, you've provided that back to me. That's kind of a theory of mind, but it's an imitation of theory of mind. Mm-hmm. So theory of mind, just to wrap it up, says, this theory of mind skill that you need to develop in order to work effectively with AI agents is a dynamic moment-to-moment factor that directly influences the quality of AI responses. And that's just a research paper way of saying you need to be in the mix with your AI in order to optimize the co-intelligence, the human AI synergistic performance. Right. So this shifts it away from model centric. Oh, I've got to get the best model to I've got to learn how to train my teams for socially aware, adaptive AI use and with AI always as a partner for emergent collaborative intelligence.
Absolutely. And this is one of the things that I think is sort of the biggest loss when we talk about implementing AI without nuanced pieces of like, how are we implementing AI, right? Because can AI do its own thing, like the new things coming out about 5.2 and Opus 4.5 from Anthropic, right? One of the talking points about that is that it's able to do processes for long periods of time, and like long, 45 minutes maybe. But the part of that is that you've given it really good instructions, right? Because 45 minutes is a lot of time to lose to discover that you're not on the same page. Now we're talking about interns, right? The intern was like, got it, boss, I'm on it. And then you notice that like all of the supplies are taken off the shelves. And you're like, nope, that wasn't actually part of what I was asking for. And in AI, you may not know that piece. One of the things that I read today was research showing that the more that AI is showing you its thinking, right? The more that like you're able to go and track the thinking steps, it aligns more closely. If you're like, hey, go off and do this, and there's no need, it's not showing you the thinking patterns, it's just bringing it back. Those tend, not surprisingly, to be less, what would I say, less less following of the instructions, less rigid in terms of its approach to what you'd agreed on, right? There are way more shortcuts. And I will say that personally, you guys heard me talking about this last week. I have not changed. I have doubled down on my position that I am not a fan of Gemini Flash 2.5. And
wait, 2.5 Flash or 3 Flash?
3, sorry. I'm not a fan of whatever Flash just came out.
Okay.
Yes. I'm also not a fan of 2.5. You're right. Beth, join us in December 2025. And the reason that I think the information hasn't come out is because it performed well on the benchmarks. It performed equal on the benchmarks. My personal benchmark case was I asked it to transcribe a video that I had done. This is a technique we talked about on the show. I'm reading something in X or LinkedIn or something, and it's hard for me to copy because I want the comments as well. So I just do a screen recording, it's 20 seconds, and then I ask Gemini to transcribe it so that I can then work with that information. Gemini 3 Pro, when I asked that and have made the very human error of not actually uploading the video, will say, I would love to do that for you, Beth, as soon as you give me the video. 3 Flash said, sure thing, here it is.
Oh.
Like, yep, this is what it was said. It's got chapters. It's got a topic that had, like, we hadn't talked topic yet. Literally, I said, transcribe this video I took from X, right? I'm like, okay. And that for me is one of the differences. You're not a partner for me if I'm going to be boneheaded sometimes. Right? I need you to do the obvious, like, I think you're missing something, and not hallucinate that kind of thing. That's for me the difference between the higher reasoning, which seems ridiculous. I don't think it's super high reasoning to like look at my input and notice that I didn't have a video. But
yeah, that I in the category of flubs by AI. I'm going to share one in a moment, but I just want to say I haven't yet used Gemini 3 Flash, even though that's now the default in Gemini, because I access Gemini through AI Studio
Yeah.
and or gemini.google.com, where I have a subscription. And I've always, even though it's now defaulting, if you don't select a model, if it's defaulting to Flash, I've just been selecting Pro. I'm not going back, but you can understand why Google would make that move, because for 95% of the kinds of queries that are done, typical search oriented kinds of things with Gemini in all of the Google system, they ought to be using the small model, not
Right.
the Pro. Don't make it go through all these thinking steps, for your request on whether, Best Buy is open today or not.
Right.
So,
Which is why I have been using the default, because a bunch of the things that I'm asking for don't seem to be really important. I also thought asking it to transcribe a video that I forgot to attach would be one of those tasks. And
yeah.
you could say, missing the key ingredient. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to to close out the show, hopefully, because we've already, we've gone to 46 minutes here already. I wanted to talk about a flub by AI. So over the weekend, as I mentioned, I've been working with Claude Code to do this migration and clean up these systems, and I'm depending on Claude Code to do that. Well, one of the simple things that I asked it to do was to look through all the Chrome profiles that are on this machine and identify what was the latest use of each of those Chrome profiles. And in order to prioritize, there were 9 profiles on the thing. I don't know how that I developed that many, but we're talking about a decade of work on this machine, right? Anyway, it came back and said, okay, well, this profile 3, it's clearly the one that you're using. Yeah, that's right. It's my main Gmail account and so on. This one here, it was used 18 days ago on November 16th, 2024. What? Wait, I think you're getting the dates mixed up. Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. It hasn't been used since 2024. So we're going to delete that one. Wait, no, no, that's not the part of the date you got wrong. Well, so I go back and forth. It could never get it right. I even shifted that whole conversation over to Claude Desktop to see if maybe Claude Code was confused, but Claude Desktop wasn't. No, Claude made the same mistakes about the dating on that. And I don't think that you can really have faith in a tool like even Claude Code if it can't get the dates on files correct, if you're asking it to go in and manipulate your files. So again, back to the point that you have to be supervising these things very carefully in order to avoid potentially catastrophic losses of data and or parts of your systems. So anyway, I lost a little confidence in Claude Code. I was thinking of it as as Nate Jones might say, the grand panacea for all of your AI concerns. But no, you're going to have to watch it carefully.
Yep. And so one of the things that I think about that's interesting about that is that it seems to me that dates are the equivalent of hands for image models. Like if it's going to make a mistake, it's going to go to its training data, and therefore it's going to say, it does that for models as well. Like if I ask about, how would I write this for Gemini 3 Pro? It will come back and say Gemini 2.5 Pro is the most recent model and blah, blah, blah. Like there are things where it does seem to go back to what's in its training data. And when they make improvements, sometimes those things come back, right? Hands are still the thing that image models freak out on. Like if there's going to be a problem in the new iteration, you're back to limbs not matching, all those kinds of things. All right. Well, thank you, Andy. We have completed our show today. and Andy and I always joke, should we jinx it? We're going to do a short show today. And we are getting done.
Yeah, we're saving 10 minutes of your day, everybody. We're going to give that back to you.
Okay, and there is great information in our chat. Jeff has given tips for people, and absolutely. So Jeff has given tips for Andy because you just commented on that. Okay, so definitely check out our chat for the show as well. We will be back tomorrow. I believe Brian will be with us tomorrow.
For those of you listening who can't read the chat, Jeff pointed out that if you have a pro subscription to Gemini, which I do, the $19.99 a month deal, you can use Gemini CLI, command line interface, to operate as a coding agent basically on your desktop as well for free. And I wouldn't have to pay for Claude Code to do that. But I've long ago given up on the idea of centralizing on things just for the elimination of a few $100s a year, especially in these early years of AI, because I want to have experience with all of them. And so I have subscriptions pretty much to everyone. The one I have to, the one I can name that I have no subscription with is X. I don't have any XAI subscription. So
it's interesting because people who are reluctant are starting to say that when they run the tests, actually X is a pretty good writer. Yeah, it is good. And X it's clearly a good AI. I'm not sure how good the rest of that sort of system is. So I'm using good in non-technical ways. Good is a non-quantifiable thing in our life now. I'm asking for goodness like Anthropic's goodness on top of its technical goodness. But there's so much AI news that happens on X, I just can't. Right? Yeah, it's a frustration for me. All right. Okay. So let us know if you're using X, or if you're coming to us because I am. There are more than those two options, but we're just giving those there. We will see you all tomorrow, and we'll look for what's happening today. Are there more OpenAI things that are just going to shift out? They do have a Santa-themed Christmas promo on their desktop now that says, hey, use our videos. You can put a Santa hat on yourself. Use our image Gen 1.5. Okay. Thank you. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Nope. That's something else. I'm ending stream. The buttons are the same color, StreamYard. Leave studio and end stream literally are the same color buttons. All right.